Before the War of the Aeons. Perhaps one of the most common sayings in Therianor is the one that says they forgot us first, although it is not the only saying that refers to the abandonment of the gods to the detriment of those who are their creation, humanity, the inhabitants of Therianor, or even more, the inhabitants of Earthria. What would you think if I told you that before the War of the Aeons the gods walked through Therianor and that some even fought in the War of the Aeons? Would you believe me? I'm not lying to you, I was there even though I didn't participate in the war. Men do not remember it, but that war took the lives of thousands of men and also of the gods who involved them in it. It was a terrible war, probably worse than the Oblivion. Only the determination of a handful of men prevented that. It meant the end of all Earthria. Before the War of the Aeons, some gods walked through Earthria, always doing their thing, knowing that they had to prepare their positions for the last day they would have to face each other again, taking champions and standard bearers, taking sides with some men or others according to their own interests will move them. How do I know this? Well, because I too came down from above and still walk through Therianor, sometimes in the guise of an old man, sometimes in the form of a game bird, sometimes as an inexplicable wind approaching when there are not even clouds in the air. Firmament. Before that war, men were like lost children, although for myself I was able to verify that they had enormous potential. They grouped together and formed flourishing and strong peoples. They formed what we always lacked: community. The times of the gods did not pass and they will never pass, because it is destiny and men are victims of that infamous destiny that the Father of the gods engraved in everything created, a destiny with an infamous ending in which everything has to be destroyed to start over, to purge that which is twisted from what was created. It is difficult to say. In the end, at least for me, only one thing has become clear to me: when the moment comes again and the flames take over the sky, only a few will see the light of a new dawn, and those who are on high and who took my place, the same ones who will fight to the death, they themselves will make the world something new or reduce it to nothing. Only those gods know. At that time I was walking freely in Therianor, and I even settled in one place, built my home and lived as a man for a long time. I even adopted 2 abandoned children, 2 beautiful children with silver hair. They were good children and they grew up as such. However, with the objectivity of the many years that have passed since then, I must say with regret that it was my own influence that drew them into that war. I tried to raise them as normal children, without using any divine properties, but in the end I couldn't help it, and when I taught them the arcana, yes, they were the first magicians on Earthria, everything changed. Now I must confess that it was my fault. That arcana, that piece of divinity that I shared with them, was the one that inevitably dragged them to their own perdition, caused the intervention of other gods, and finally war. Nobody knows my faults except those who read this letter that I leave to the wind to try in some way to atone for my sins, my crimes, all those horrible things that I have done to men, not only in this age and in this world, but that also in the previous one and in the one before that too. I am to blame for the War of the Aeons, all of it without a doubt, and I tried to pay for it since it ended. But how difficult it is for a god to find the end, and do not doubt that I have wanted and searched for it for a long time. Now I think that the Norns may have something in store for me before my existence ends, or perhaps this infinite evolution of guilt for centuries is a punishment for the one who has brought so much misfortune and who has lost everything. It is difficult to say. I was the father of the gods in the first great war. In the second I knew defeat, and now in the third I don't know where my place will be. I only hope to be able to somehow compensate for the misfortune that I brought to this world with the Arcana and with the War of the Aeons, war that is the cause of all subsequent ones, or at least one important reason for all of them. It is ironic that I cannot even ask to receive my punishment, because there is no God who can give it to me. In short, I am leaving this letter to redeem myself, so that you know something of the truth, and also so that you keep your faith, so that you know that this has to end for all of us, but nobody knows if there is something later or not. For this reason I beg you to remain in your faith, and when everything looks dark, do not waver. If there is someone out there superior to me or to the other gods, I hope that he listens to you and allows Earthria to know the light of a new day. An old pilgrim, a game bird, a gust of wind in Ulma.
Si nuestro trabajo te ha gustado, no olvides darle like y suscribirte para recibir notificaciones de nuestras próximas historias. Si quieres apoyar nuestro proyecto editorial, puedes seguirnos en Patreon o apoyar en forma directa mediante Flow en los links de la descripción.